My name is Silvia Mazzini, and I'm assistant professor for philosophy and art theory, and I'm also the dean of students and chair of dissertation affairs. IDSVA found me, and, and I was so lucky. So a very good friend of mine, Santiago Zabala, and a friend of IDSVA, was invited to give a talk at a residency in Berlin. And at that time, I lived in Berlin. I was going to move to another country, but I was still there. So therefore, IDSVA invited me to have a conversation, because IDSVA lives on conversations and exchange. So then I went there, and well, I fell in love. My area of interest in terms of study and research, because here we are artist philosophers, so we have broader fields and planets to discover, but then it's aesthetics. And aesthetics then in the sense of the senses, listening and exploring, then this meeting with the words and the others. And aesthetics, then in my opinion, then that's what we feel and experience here at the IDSVA, is having to do also with politics in the sense of the polis, the many. So it's a polyphonic experience. So at the moment, so actually since about 10 years, but so I'm doing research and writing on what I call the philosophy of reduction and or the philosophy of poverty. So I'm trying to listen to some philosophers, I use the word listen and not only reading, going through and experiencing poverty and reduction in order to create. Therefore, I call that also creative reduction. And so it's not only, above all, not a political problem, but poverty or reduction more as creation. And I'm writing on that now. Being at the IDSVA is really what Gadamer calls an Erfahrung. Erfahrung is a trip, and this is a trip. Not only because we travel and we meet from all over the world, and then we share, well, we always share a place, because we are always together, also when we meet online. But here we share also an experience with a real aesthetical experience with eating together with all the senses. So it's really a multi-dimensional experience. But in general, being at the IDSVA is an Erfahrung, a trip, because also for Gadamer, every trip, a real trip, a true trip, changes you. And it's always a becoming, changing. Also teaching is getting so much from students. Being with faculty is an exchange and therefore a change. So it's a trip, it's a becoming. And this informs me as a scholar, but also as a person, which I think at the IDSVA, they are together, as the artist philosopher and as scholar and person. The word person comes from a mask, and it means resonate. And this is a kind of, if you listen, and this is this hermeneutic exchange, if you listen, then things resonate, so they do not belong to you, but they go through you as a mask and then fly all over in a polyphonic voice. It's not about adapting to a form, but forming together, and always this becoming. So the differences are the voices and the polyphony of IDSVA. Well, students are the voices of IDSVA, and students are this living work of art, living, becoming, evolving, creative work of art. So they always bring fire and warmth to the IDSVA, but also to thought. So it is not this cold thought, which is also important in philosophy. And sometimes we have it, so cold thought, I mean, concepts that go together, a kind of these games of children. And we need some of these bricks. But students make these bricks warm and work and play together in a philosophical sense and artistical sense. And wow, every day, every student, every conference is something new, burning with life. What makes me excited about IDSVA and the next chapter is that every time, as Heidegger says, a work of art a work of art lets emerge something new. And since IDSVA is a living, embodied and embodying work of art, then every time there is a new word, and new words. So this keeps me alive in the true sense of the word. Alive is giving life as a plant, or a rhizomatic plant, of course.